Hey everyone, and welcome to Boston Autoblog. As we all found out this year, the future is uncertain. No one really knows what's going to happen next week, next month, next year, or 5 years down the road. And the same applies to the automotive industry, and for car enthusiasts like myself. We love our gas-powered cars, but are they going to be even around or made in 2030 or 2035? Most likely that's not going to be the case. Are we going to have autonomous cars where they're going to drive us around town and on the highways and really give us a very numb feeling and kind of just make us all passengers in our own vehicles? Well, I can't really tell you that either. I don't know if that's going to be the viable option in 5 to 10 years. But what I can tell you is that electric cars are most certainly the present, and when you have brands like Porsche making the Taycan Turbo S, then maybe, just maybe, the future isn't as bleak as we all think it is. Now, owning an electric car doesn't have to be dull, sad, and depressing, and I'm trying to talk myself into buying one at some point in my life because I'm probably going to do that. But Tesla has actually done a great job of making it cool and cutting edge to own one, and it's easing everybody into the electric car market. However, there's one issue with Tesla, and that is they're not that great with interior refinement and overall quality. But if we leave this opportunity in the hands of regular brands such as Porsche, we'll actually get something even better overall. And that's why I am here to take a look at the Taycan Turbo S, because when you step inside, you are not only in the future, but you're actually in a more modernized Porsche that actually gives you comfort, technology, and everything you're looking for from a vehicle with the Porsche badge. So in this video, we're going to take a good long look at the Porsche Taycan Turbo S and experience this car for the very first time. Now, there won't be a test drive, unfortunately, because this car has not been expelled yet. And, well, it's the winter up here in New England. It's already snowed, and there's quite a lot of debris on the road. So, unfortunately, we won't be able to do that today. However, we are going to do a very in-depth look, do a walk around, and see all the features that this car has. Now, before I get in this review, I thank Porsche of Westwood in Westwood, Massachusetts, for allowing me to do this review. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Porsche inventory. And so, without wasting any further time, let's get right in this review. The future always seems far away, until one day you wake up and the technology marketed for tomorrow becomes the present. And that couldn't be more true when talking about electric cars. If you were told 5 years ago that electric vehicles would actually be somewhat mainstream by the beginning of the 2020s, you'd probably laugh at that statement. However, heading into 2021, alternative energy certainly seems to be gaining traction in one way or another. And for Porsche, the Taycan is the beginning of a whole new era for the German manufacturer. Over the years, we've become accustomed to seeing brands eager to release new products before their rivals to capture market share immediately. And with BMW and Mercedes-Benz still in the beginning stages of going electric, Porsche is already there and experiencing great success. Starting off with pricing, the Porsche Taycan Turbo S comes in at $185,000. But the model for our review has a few options included for a grand total of $214,000. While most buyers will probably go with a 4S, which is priced just above $100,000, the Turbo S is the pinnacle of automotive achievement for an electric car, as what we see before us today is most certainly going to trickle down to more affordable vehicles in the near future. When staring at the Taycan, at first glance it appears to be a big sedan, but it's actually 4 inches shorter in length compared to the Panamera, but is 2 inches wider and sits a bit lower for a more aerodynamic and aggressive road presence. Speaking of design, the Taycan at dealers today isn't too far off from the Mission E concept we saw back in 2015. For early adopters and enthusiasts of Porsche's first modern-day electric car, you can order your Taycan in a Mission E spec, which in our opinion is the best option to go with. Aside from the obvious, the main difference between the Taycan and other Porsches in the lineup is the futuristic aesthetics and smoother body lines, while also not sharing the same headlight designs we see on the Panamera, 911, Cayman, and Boxster. Instead, this electric car brings a new interpretation to Porsche's signature look that's been a staple of the brand's identity for decades. A nice touch that speaks to enthusiasts is the carbon fiber front splitter for a sportier appearance. Moving over to the side profile, our model is sitting on the optional 21-inch Taycan exclusive design wheels for an additional $600, which contrast well with the yellow painted brake calipers. You'll get body color power folding side mirrors, and for additional safety when driving, you will have blind spot detection. It's when coming around to the back where you see traditional Porsche styling, as the taillight design and rear fascia are very 911-like in appearance. Also with the C-pillar design that's reminiscent to most Grand Coupes, it has a resemblance to the Panamera, which is why the Taycan has been accepted by Porsche enthusiasts rather quickly. Overall, when taking a look at the road presence, the free-flowing angles and body lines embodies what a sports car is all about. And even though it won't have the beautiful sound of a flat 6 like we hear in the 911, it certainly looks like a car you want to experience firsthand and drive aggressively on wide-open back roads. The Taycan Turbo S is powered by dual electric motors mounted on the front and rear axles, which helps propel this car from 0 to 60 in right around 2.6 seconds. In terms of performance, the numbers are almost astronomical, as officially the Turbo S has 616 horsepower, but when you activate launch control, power increases to 750 horsepower through overboost. Then adding in the 774 pound-feet of torque, and you now have a car that will literally take your breath away, and it's possible your spirit might leave your body too, like I experienced back in the fall. With the dual electric motors, you will have all-wheel drive, making the Taycan a great year-round vehicle for buyers living in colder regions of the US. Of course, the question you've all been waiting for me to answer is, what's the range? Well, for the Turbo S, you're looking at 200 miles of range, but I'd be willing to bet that the Taycan won't be your only vehicle in the garage, so range anxiety probably isn't too much of a concern. Stepping inside, you're greeted by a very futuristic interior, with a full digital gauge cluster, 2 touchscreens, and an optional screen for the passenger side, which is optional. Making your driving experience more pleasant, you'll have power adjustable heated and ventilated seats, with 3-position memory for both the driver and passenger. And part of the premium package, you'll have thermal and noise insulated glass and a fixed panoramic roof, which will provide additional light into the interior. Taking a look at the fully digital instrument panel, you can customize what you see in front of you by using the buttons mounted on the steering wheel. From here, you can display the navigation map, tire pressure monitoring, G-force meter, and access a variety of different information. Also adding a futuristic vibe is the lack of buttons, and instead you can adjust the Taycan's ride height, turn off traction control, and even turn on your headlights from this screen. Moving over to the infotainment system, you'll have a touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and onboard navigation. And for our model, we have the upgraded Burmester 3D surround sound system to enhance the audio of your favorite music. In true Porsche fashion, the Taycan has a very in-depth and high-resolution user interface that's pretty responsive as well. You could spend 20 minutes going through all the different features and menus and still not fully experience this head unit. Of course, you can access different drive modes from this screen, including the ability to turn on the electric sports sound for a more natural experience when accelerating. It's from this screen where you can also activate or deactivate safety systems, adjust ride height, and customize ambient lighting. When parking this Taycan, we have a 3D surround view to go along with a top view camera and panoramic front and rear view cameras with trajectory to make it impossible for you to get yourself into trouble when maneuvering this car around. Moving down towards the center console, rather than a traditional button layout, you have a touchscreen for your dual zone climate control up front, and your 3-level heated and ventilated seats. It's also from here where you can see battery life and range. At the top of this screen are quick access buttons for the infotainment system, so if you want to see your navigation map or what music you're listening to, you can easily get to different menus to make it safer when driving. For the passenger, their touchscreen is a mini infotainment system, where they can access the radio, navigation system, and even a small digital gauge cluster as well. While not as in-depth as the main head unit, it will keep passengers engaged on longer drives, while also giving them a sense of having some control rather than having the driver adjust all the settings. And rounding out the front seating area, for the center console, you'll have 2 cup holders. Now for passengers in the back, we're going to start off on the driver's side, and I adjusted the seat to someone of my height around 5'5", and I have a decent amount of legroom to work with here. Now, do keep in mind that if you are around maybe 5'9", 5'10", you are going to be a little claustrophobic to a certain degree when it comes to legroom. Headroom, on the other hand, first off, I want to point out that the second row seats sit a bit lower. And this is a characteristic that we see a lot in Porsche models, specifically the Macan and also the Cayenne. And that's really to maximize as much headroom as possible. With this fixed panoramic sunroof, it makes the interior seem much bigger than in reality, but also it's really cool to have, especially as a passenger. You can just look up and see the sky. It's really cool. Now, for the center seat, there are some decent placements for my feet. However, when it comes to shoulder room, I do think that this car is better suited for just 2 people back here. Shoulder room is a bit tight. I do think that if you fit 3 of me's, it would be fine. But if you're taller, around maybe like 5'7", 5'8", average size adult, it might get a little squished. And then on the passenger side, this seat is adjusted further back. It's also somewhat on a recline, and I still have a few inches of legroom to work with here. So when it comes to interior space, I do think it's a little bit more tight than in some vehicles in the Porsche lineup, but it's still conducive. I still think you could have a family and be just fine on a daily basis if this is going to be your daily driver. Now, also back here, we will get 2 rear air vents to go along with dual zone climate control, also your buttons for your 3-level heated outboard seats. And then rounding out the rear seating area, you do get a center armrest with 2 cup holders. Now, checking out the front of the Taycan Turbo S, you're going to get right around 3 cubic feet of rear cargo space, which is not a lot at all. I think you could probably fit 1 or 2 bags of groceries if you're lucky. And then, of course, you will have enough room for maybe a book bag or something like that. But that's basically it. There's not a lot of room to work with here. So let's check out the back. Now, coming around to the back, you're going to receive around 13 cubic feet of rear cargo space. Now, to put that into perspective, that's around the same amount of room you're going to find in most compact sedans. So even though the Taycan is actually very similar in size to the Panamera, you do sacrifice quite a bit because of the battery placement. But we do have a decent sized box back here, which should show you how much you can fit. Now, this is all the parts for the Taycan. I'm assuming this is the charger as well in there, but you can definitely fit at least 1 decent sized box, and also, of course, enough room for groceries and smaller items. And I can only assume, since I can't take this box out of the car, that it would definitely have enough room for all my camera gear. So from that perspective, the Taycan is definitely a practical vehicle, but definitely keep in mind that if you are looking for something a little bit more spacious, then you're probably going to want to go with a Cayenne hybrid. So at the end of the day, the Porsche Taycan Turbo S really is the best of both worlds. First and foremost, it's a Porsche. It has great styling. It's very classy and elegant. But you also have that fun factor as well. Of course, this vehicle is over $200,000, so it's not going to be for everybody. However, as we've seen, whether it's technology, performance, or even just straight up design, that tends to trickle down to a more affordable price range. So I do believe that in about 10 years or so, we are going to have some great looking vehicles that are fun to drive, despite the fact that they are electric. But more importantly, as somebody who is not really a big Tesla fan, I personally have not bought into the hype. Having a Porsche that is refined and also very luxurious makes me feel a lot better about this technology and the future as well. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. Also follow me on Instagram at Boston Autoblog so you can see what I'm up to and also what new cars will be coming to the channel very soon. And I'll see you guys next time.